Hi, my name is Fine Liner Nerd and welcome to the first tutorial in a series about how to paint skin tone with watercolours. In each episode throughout the series, we'll focus on how to achieve different skin tones from lightest to darkest using colour theory and different tonal values. And today we're starting with the lighter skin tone. But I say colour theory, it's really simple. Let me show you just how much. I'm going to start with some very quick, very basic colour theory. Here's a simple colour wheel made using only the primary and secondary colours. First, I'll show you how to find a light skin tone using a two-colour system by mixing a primary and its opposing secondary colour. Then we'll look at how to get even more control by using a three-colour system with the primaries. Right, let's get straight into the first technique using the two-colour system. The theory is that if you mix a primary colour with its opposing secondary colour, you'll get brown. So if you mix yellow with purple, blue with orange, or red with green, you'll get brown. Let me show you. I'm going to mix Winsor red with sap green. We'll start out with the mixture slightly on the red side of the spectrum, and with each swatch I'm going to add green until we have a colour that's on the green end of the spectrum. Somewhere in the middle of the swatch lineup we'll find some decent hues for a light skin tone. So you can see what happened here. As the mixture transitioned from red through to green, a band of hues appeared here in the middle that are a neutral balance of both colours. Okay, so let's look at what blue and orange look like together in French ultramarine and burnt sienna. And this time we're starting off with a mixture that's slightly too much on the blue side. And why not the third one with dark Sazine purple and yellow ochre. Okay, so that's a pretty good skin tone straight off the bat. I'm going to add more yellow in so that we can work our way through purple. Now for part two. The theory behind using the primary colours is a little bit more complicated, but it's still super simple. Basically, no matter which way you look at it, you're painting with a primary colour and its opposing secondary colour. For example, if you mix blue with red and yellow, you're effectively mixing blue with orange. If you start with red and you mix yellow and blue together, you're effectively making green, which is opposite red. And if you start with yellow and you mix blue and red together, you're effectively making purple. But by using two primaries to make one secondary, you get a lot more control over your mixture. And I'm not only going to show you how, but I'm going to show you why as well. So for the purposes of the exercise to show you, I'm going to mix Winsor red, a little bit more Winsor red, with French ultramarine as the blue, and yellow ochre as the yellow, to make green. Now this is only for the purposes of the exercise. I would normally mix them all together anyway, but it does show you that by starting with a primary and making a secondary colour out of the other two primary colours, you're essentially doing the same exercise as before. So let's mix those together. Now we've got a mixture that looks sort of greyed off, and that's because there's quite a lot of blue in there compared to the red and the yellow. But let's swatch it anyway and see how we can tweak it to take it to a decent middle ground where all colours are level. So if the mixture has too much blue in it, we want to add more orange, which requires yellow and red. So I'm going to add some red in, and I'll add some yellow. And swatch again. And it's looking better, it's warming up, but it's not quite there yet. I always forget how heavily pigmented that is. I never ever get it right, I always take too much or too little. Regardless, let's put some red in there. Now that's gone really red. And let's throw some yellow in as well to balance it out. And swatch again. And yeah, I put too much red in there, didn't I? So let's balance out some of that red with yellow, because we're still on that. Not enough. Not enough. Perhaps this will do it. Yeah, we're getting there. Need a bit more water though, because I've added quite a lot of pigment in now. Let's try that again. Potentially that's a little bit too orange, so Let's add a little bit of French ultramarine and see if that knocks out some of the warmth, which it has done. And I've added even more water there to that mixture to see what that looks like when it's a little bit more diluted. So working out which colour your mixture is strongest in allows you to identify which opposing colour you need to add to the mixture. So too heavy in blue, add red and yellow because that makes orange. And knowledge of what to add in and when comes with experimentation and practice. Okay, so now it's time to paint this handsome chap. I drew him on just like toner paper and then transferred him using my light box onto watercolour paper. So first things first, I would just roll this over the drawing. This lifts off most of the graphite. And then I create a little point, so like a really fat eraser pencil. And I just go over bits that I really don't want to see anymore. So like the marks on his chin and on his cheeks as well. I want to get rid of some of the shading marks that are on his chest. And they stay like as an imprint in my head, I suppose. Then I'm going to mix paint exactly the same way as we did before. Now that I'm happy with the hue that I've got, I'll start with the first wash. Now this technique I'm using is lifting some of the watercolour off his face to create highlights. And it just ever so slightly starts to create subtle highlights on his face that give me a good map for the rest of the painting. So I've used a hairdryer to dry that really quickly rather than waiting a few hours. After the wash, it's time to start layering and adding values, or darker parts of the painting, to give it depth. And this is done by using a technique called dragging, where you lay down some paint in a part of your painting that you want to be darkest, and using clear water to drag the pigment out into a smooth gradient. Now you want to keep repeating this process until you're happy with the depth of the values. Right, so I'm a little bit annoyed because I thought I was recording and I wasn't, and I was talking about putting red around the eyes and red on that top lip. Basically, take the mixture that you've made skin tone with and mix it with a little bit of the same red that you used in the mixture itself. This just creates a rosier tone. And basically you want to build up layers as well with the lips and the eyes too. I just normally add like a little dab of paint in the corners and then drag it out into the center with clear water. This basically creates quite a nice like shade from the shadow of the lip in the corners through to the center of the lip, which would be lighter. And then I normally like my boys looking quite sad, so I'm going to add even, I don't know why, I'm going to add even more red to the top of the eyes. Now that we're done with the red accents around his eyes, ears and lips, it's time to start adding shadow. And I like to do this with blue. So I use cerulean blue normally because it's a really nice contrast. Now this technique here is called glazing. So it's where you put one colour over the top of another colour. And basically by swatching it on top of it, you know that it's not going to change colour too much. His hair. I really hate painting hair. I normally do just a block colour. That's the way I do it. That's my style. It's the way I like to do it. So here we go. And all that's left now is some finishing touches with some Faber-castell Polychromos pencils. that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you check out the rest of my videos and subscribe.